Welcome to the Sage Thought Leadership Podcast, transforming the way people think and work so their organizations can thrive. Well, hi everyone, and welcome to our podcast. I'm Ed Kless, and with me today is Stan Deak. Stan is the GM of Skynamo. He brings more than 20 years' experience to business-to-business SaaS technology with a focus on building and developing early-stage companies. Most recently with Experience, the Atlanta-based mobile ticketing technology company, he was the 9th employee and helped grow the company to more than 350 sports and entertainment partners worldwide. Stan is also a part of the core team that conceptualized INWEGO, the company's consumer subscription service. He also spent 10 years at Silverpop, now a part of Acoustic, leading sales and customer success teams prior to its acquisition by IBM. Welcome to the Sage Advice Podcast, Stan Deak.
Ed, thanks for having me. It's wonderful to be here.
Well, first off, Stan, why do you do what you do?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I've always loved being in sales ever since I was in college. I started selling cars at CarMax when CarMax came to Atlanta, and I went to Georgia Tech and fell in love with technology and really knew very early on that I wanted to be in technology sales and specifically software sales. Through career progression, I've been fortunate enough to find some early stage companies that afforded me the opportunity to grow in my career and grow with those businesses. And it's led me here to Skynamo. I thought one of the next challenges in my career was how to maybe step outside of sales just a little bit and take over some more of that operational opportunities and really how to grow a broader business. And we found that with Skynamo, when they were launching their US operations, I had the opportunity to sort of marry two of my, a few loves, right? Sales and get that other opportunity to really grow, not just a sales team, but really a business, which is what we're trying to do here with Skynamo in North America.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that. You, before we started recording, you mentioning that Skynamo is a big in South Africa, which is where the company was originally founded. But what are some of the key challenges that you're facing with growing a brand in the U.S. that wasn't originally based in the U.S.?
Yeah, the Skynamo is a nearly 8-year-old business at this point with nearly 1,000 customers, but the extreme majority of that is in South Africa or Southern Africa. Very few customers here in North America when I joined the business. So that speaks to just culturally how you talk to customers. There are some very unique cultural differences in how you can grow a brand and things you can say in a competitive marketplace. And really, I think this year has been extremely unique. I think everybody could say that regardless of the industry that you're in. We had intended to do quite a bit of events this year. So a number of Sage events that unfortunately didn't get a chance to take place. So we had to pivot with a lot of our branding strategies and shift that from a lot of in-person to webinars, like a lot of people have done, take advantage of wonderful opportunities like this. But really it comes down to when you're doing a startup, it's quite a bit of hustle, honestly, trying to identify which markets and which segments of our potential customer base are actually doing business right now and potentially doing well. And then with any startup, you don't have unlimited funds. So you take the limited amount of funds and the limited amount of time and energy that you have and try to create that awareness of the Skynamo brand within that segment of the business. And then clearly leveraging partnerships. We've taken a lot of opportunities this year to do webinars with other VARs. So Sage VARs have invited us to participate in whether it's your own Sage webinars or VAR webinars, and that's been really great too. So being very opportunistic, taking every chance we can get.
Yeah, you almost have to, as you mentioned. Nobody had COVID or a global pandemic on the strategy plan last year, or those that did were have done okay, I suppose. But wanted to ask you. You said you're trying to be more creative in those things that you're doing, some of those events that you're doing. It must be difficult though to build a brand around like a non-face-to-face event. So what are some of the things that you've tried just beside the webinar?
Yeah, we've tried to be really engaging on LinkedIn. So I've personally made some LinkedIn messages out there and asked people to respond to some of my LinkedIn posts. I've tried to make some early on. I think a lot of people are trying to just create some funny videos on LinkedIn, things like that. So we were doing quite a bit of that. I think some of the other things we've done is we actually hired strategically, and we've built out an SDR team in South Africa And we're having that SDR team actually work on quite a bit of brand building for us, having them reach out to potential prospects. And instead of really trying to sell them on Skynamo, just make them aware we have some great content around blogs. We have some great content around industry metrics and industry statistics, and just getting them to sign up for our newsletter, things like that. So when I talk about hustle, it's a lot of quite a bit of that activity. And then we've done a really good job, I think, just organizationally expanding our social media footprint. Trying to really just make the market aware of us through even just
ads and stuff. Yeah.
Ads. Company's done fun little dance crazes, and then we've tagged our company in it, things like that. So I mean, you name it, we're trying to do it, and that's just creating the global brand. Here domestically, and even in Atlanta, we took an opportunistic chance to actually do some local radio advertising, which not many people would do in a SaaS business. So we had some extra marketing budget, and we decided to try to see if we could just make the Atlanta market aware that we had relocated our North American headquarters to the Atlanta area. We took the opportunity to do that through sports talk radio. If you think about field salespeople, they're driving around in their car all day. They're probably listening to sports talk radio. It seemed like a nice connection. And then we participated with some events with actually that same station, which doesn't seem like a good fit for SaaS technology, but the same people who advertised on that station are actually great prospects for us as well. So we were able to build our brand locally, not just through those announcements, but also through meeting the people who are other sponsors to that same brand. So a little bit of a different approach than you would see most SaaS businesses take, but it's got us a few local leads, which has been nice. And again, when you have limited time, limited budget, and you can't do some of those face-to-face things, next best thing to face-to-face is potentially being, in somebody's ear at least as they're driving around.
No, I think those are great suggestions. Thanks so much for those. And you mentioned again before we started recording that the Atlanta area is just as big as the entire South African market. So, huge challenge for you to decide who you're going to say no to is even part of the bigger challenge.
Yeah, I think you're right. What we were talking about earlier is GDP wise, the South African economy is roughly the same size as Metro Atlanta or Dallas Fort Worth area. So it's a large country in terms of population and footprint, but and we've built a tremendous business there locally. But here, the opportunity, the total addressable market is 40x at a minimum what we think it is, and so you really have to be very focused on where you spend your time and energy, and that's one of the reasons we really value the Sage partnership. It gives us that opportunity to be focused. Like we know we do Sage integrations really, really well. We know we work really well with the Sage VARs, and that there's a great complementary fit between, say, Sage X3 and Skynamo. And so that gives us that ability to focus instead of being, trying to be everything to everybody, nationally. There's a great partnership opportunity that affords us that focus.
And Stan, we have an exit question that we ask all of our guests, and that is, who is a hero of yours, and why are they a hero?
Yeah, so I think a lot of people will always quote their dads, and I think I'm going to be one of those folks that says my dad. My dad grew up in communist Hungary, and he was born in the early 30s. And when he was a young boy, the communists, he grew up in free Hungary, and when he was a young boy, the communists came in and took over. And very Sound of Music style, he escaped, through the border with some of his friends, came to America to seek capitalism and a better life and a better opportunity. And he was able to do so. And he really valued education and he valued hard work. We didn't grow up with, a ton of money, and it was always easy to point to, him not having a lot and being able to say that if you work hard and you take risks, which is one of the reasons I think I really like the startup culture and startup community, is you have to take a risk sometimes to be able to be rewarded and find rewarding value in things. And so I really looked at my dad, who great education, took a risk, and I think did it for all the right reasons.
And lastly, Stan, how can somebody contact you?
Yeah, thanks, Ed. So my personal email is stan@skynamo.com. That's stan@skynamo.com. You can find us, the company at skynamo.com. We're very active on LinkedIn and all the different social media channels. And so that would be the best way to get in touch with me.
All right. Stan Deak, GM of Skynamo, thanks so much for being a guest on the Sage Advice podcast.
Awesome. Thanks, Ed. Have a great day.
Review and subscribe by searching your podcast player of choice for Sage Thought Leadership Podcast.